Kyle Allen stares at the emergency broadcast display, his hands trembling as the death count rises: 498,743, 499,156, 500,000 children dead, his children dead, their children dead, all of them gone in an instant when the Galactic Council's enforcement fleet reduced the new Genesis colony to atomic ash. From his position in the maintenance tunnels deep beneath the colony's ruins, Kyle watches through surviving camera feeds as Council ships continue their systematic destruction of 15 years of dreams, love, and hope. The secret settlement he and other human veterans built with their UNA's mates burns in nuclear fire, declared an unauthorized genetic contamination by High Commander Zextal's decree. Sarah lies unconscious beside him, her UNA's features twisted in pain from the injuries she sustained during their desperate escape. As the colony's medical director, she had been in the hospital wing when the first strikes hit. Kyle had barely reached her in time, carrying her to safety as their world collapsed around them. The partially functioning communications array crackles with Council transmissions. Kyle's military training kicks in as he archives everything, every transmission, every order, every piece of evidence showing the Council knew exactly what they were targeting: a civilian colony, children, his son, their remarkable children who had shown such promise combining human adaptability with UNA's strength and intelligence. The voting records scroll across his screen. All major Council races approved the extinction order, except for the UNA's, who abstained. Kyle's jaw clenches as he reads the official classification: hybrid threat to galactic stability. In reality, the Council feared what these children represented: a challenge to their political control, a new species that could upset their carefully maintained balance of power. A priority message flashes on his terminal. Other survivors, human UNA's couples who were off-world during the attack, are already rallying. They know what happened. Earth knows what happened. The fragile peace between humanity and the Council shatters with each passing minute as the news spreads. Kyle activates his old military channels, ones he hasn't used since his Special Forces days. They're still open, still waiting. Thousands of human veterans' fathers like him are already mobilizing. The Council thought they were eliminating a threat. Instead, they've awakened something far worse: the rage of human fathers who have lost their children. Sarah stirs beside him, her eyes focusing on the screens. "They killed our Bobbies," she whispers. Kyle takes her hand, his voice cold steel. "Yes, and now they'll learn why that was their last mistake." He begins composing messages to the other survivors, coordinating their response. The Council wanted to make an example of New Genesis. They succeeded, just not in the way they intended. The war that follows will make them wish they had never heard of Earth. Kyle's fingers flew across the terminal, dispatching encrypted coordinates to the scattered survivors. Asteroid NK-427 waited in the cold void, its abandoned mining tunnels offering sanctuary. He glanced at Sarah, her breathing steadier now as the nanomeds worked through her system. "We need to move," he said, gathering their essential equipment. "I've got a secure location." Other survivors are already en route. Within hours, their small transport ship docked at the asteroid facility. The vast chambers, carved from solid nickel iron, housed makeshift living quarters and command centers. Kyle converted an old ore processing bay into a medical wing, where Sarah immediately began treating arriving survivors despite her own injuries. "Their cellular reconstruction rates are unprecedented," Sarah said 3 days later, reviewing data from the hybrid children who had escaped the massacre. Her claws clicked against the medical tablet, especially when their human fathers are present during treatment. Kyle watched through the observation window as a young girl's plasma burns healed visibly faster when her father entered the room. The discovery added another layer of bitter irony to the Council's actions. A priority alert flashed across his terminal. Derek Bennett, his former squad's cyber warfare specialist, had breached the Council's secure networks. Kyle's blood ran cold as he read the intelligence. It wasn't just racism, Bennett's message stated. They found something in our children's genetic profiles. Regenerative capabilities, cognitive enhancements capabilities that threatened their dominance. That's why Zextal ordered the strike. Admiral Morrison's weathered face appeared on the main screen. Kyle snapped to attention out of habit, though his former commander's eyes held none of their usual military formality, only raw grief for his own lost family. Kyle, we've got movement. Council ships are preparing to hit other hybrid settlements in the Outer Rim, but we've got an ace, a high-ranking UNA's officer named Lyra Vallon is feeding us intel. She's provided locations of their weapon facilities. A new voice cut in Colonel Marcus Hayes, the demolitions legend whose twin hybrid daughters had died in the hospital wing. I've got 300 operators standing by. All fathers, all with scores to settle. The strategy took shape over secure quantum channels, 3 facilities, 3 teams, Alpha, Beta, and Gamma, each targeting a crucial component of the Council's antimatter weapons program. Kyle studied the facility schematics provided by Lyra, memorizing every detail of their primary target in the Centaurus arm. Sarah caught him reviewing the plans late that night. She traced the surgical scars on his face with gentle claws. "The children in detention," she whispered. "If you find any, we'll get them out," Kyle promised. Bennett's algorithms are already scanning for transport signatures matching hybrid biosigns. The next morning, Kyle stood before Alpha Team in the asteroid's main hangar. 20 veterans, each bearing the haunted look of fathers who had outlived their children. Their modified assault ship waited nearby, its hull enhanced with stolen Council stealth tech. Admiral Morrison's Beta team prepped for their strike on the R&D center, while Hayes' loaded Gamma team with enough explosives to crack a small moon. The mission clock synchronized across all 3 vessels. Through the hangar viewport, Kyle watched the distant stars. Somewhere out there, High Commander Zextal slept peacefully, believing he had eliminated a threat to galactic stability. Kyle checked his weapon, a hybrid design combining human ingenuity with UNA's power cells. The Council had built their empire on the assumption that different species should remain separate, that hybridization meant weakness. They were about to learn how wrong they were, not from politicians or philosophers, but from fathers who had nothing left to lose. The mission clock ticked down as Kyle boarded the assault ship. Behind him, Sarah monitored the quantum comms, coordinating intelligence from Lyra's network of sympathizers. The ship's engines hummed to life, and Kyle gave the order to launch. The assault ship's stealth systems engaged as they approached the Centaurus facility. Kyle watched the tactical display as Beta and Gamma teams confirmed positions in their respective sectors. Admiral Morrison's voice crackled through the secure channel. "All teams execute." Alpha Team's insertion went perfectly, almost too perfectly. The Council's perimeter defenses never detected them. Kyle led his squad through the maintenance access, their hybrid weapons ready. Lyra's intel had been flawless, down to the guard rotation schedules. "Server core breach in 2 minutes, the team's tech specialist whispered, fingers dancing across his tablet. "Security feeds are looping." The first sign something was wrong came when they reached sublevel 3. The corridor layout matched their schematics, but additional security barriers sealed off an entire wing, barriers that weren't in Lyra's plans. "Multiple biosignatures detected," the scanner operator reported. "Small, child-sized." Kyle's breath caught. He recognized the energy pattern's hybrid signatures, like his daughter's. "Change of plans," he sub-vocalized through the tactical net. "Jenkins, Carter proceed with primary objectives. Everyone else were investigating that wing." The security barriers fell to their hybrid tech. Inside, they found sterile white corridors lined with observation cells. Each contained a child hybrids connected to monitoring equipment. Kyle's hands shook as he checked the identification tags. "Emily Allen, cell 2187. She lay curled on a medical bed, tubes running into her arms. Her scales had a sickly gray tint, but she was alive. Kyle's med scanner showed active cellular regeneration far beyond normal rates. "Dad," her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm here, baby." Kyle worked quickly to disconnect the monitoring equipment. "We're getting you out." A datapad next to Emily's cell detailed Dr. Maxter's experiments. The council wasn't just studying the children's regenerative abilities, they were harvesting them, using their unique biology to create weapons that violated every ethical standard in known space. Through his comms, Kyle heard Beta Team engaging heavy resistance at the R&D center. Admiral Morrison's voice remained steady as he coordinated the attack. Bennett's virus was already spreading through the Council's networks, turning their automated defenses against them. "Charges set in primary production," Jenkins reported. "Timer running." From Gamma Team's channel came the sounds of intense fighting. Colonel Hayes had found his target, Commander Vextel himself. "Got the package," Hayes transmitted. "But remote detonation is compromised." "I'll have to." "Hayes, don't," Kyle started. "For our children," Hayes said. The channel went silent. Kyle carried Emily as they fought their way back to the extraction point. The other rescued children followed, supported by team members. Behind them, the facility's reactor began to destabilize. Sarah's voice cut through the tactical chatter. "Kyle, we're detecting massive energy fluctuations." "The Council, they've been using hybrid biological material to power experimental weapon systems." "Copy that." Kyle secured Emily in the assault ship's medical bay. "All teams, primary objectives complete. Begin extraction." As they lifted off, Emily grabbed his arm. "There are others, Dad. More facilities. I heard the scientists talking." A priority transmission flashed across the command console, "Unknown origin, highest encryption." Kyle decoded it to find coordinates and facility layouts, along with a warning about something called Protocol Omega. Through the viewscreen, Kyle watched antimatter explosions blossom across Council space. The mission was successful, but this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, High Commander Zextel was preparing to eliminate all evidence of his crimes, including more imprisoned children. Emily's hand tightened around his. Her scales were already regaining their healthy sheen. "What now, Dad?" Kyle uploaded the new coordinates to the navigation system. "Now we save them all." Kyle input the coordinates while Sarah stabilized Emily in the medical bay. The unknown transmission had arrived at the perfect moment, and its contents chilled him to the bone. Protocol Omega. The phrase kept repeating in his mind as he studied the encrypted facility layouts. "Bennett, I need these schematics authenticated," Kyle transmitted, forwarding the data. "Priority Alpha." The response came within minutes. "Confirmed legitimate. Kyle, you need to see this. I've cracked their internal communications. It's worse than we thought." Bennett's decoded files painted a horrifying picture. Protocol Omega wasn't just a containment procedure, it was an extinction protocol. The Council had engineered a virus specifically targeting hybrid genetic markers. "All teams, new priority," Kyle broadcast across the secure channel. "We've identified multiple detention facilities housing hybrid children. Admiral Morrison, requesting immediate support for systematic extraction operations." "Already mobilizing," Morrison responded. "I've got teams prepped and ready. Send coordinates." Emily's vital signs stabilized as Sarah administered specialized nanomeds. "Kyle," she called from the medical bay, "these readings. There's something unusual about her cellular structure." Before Kyle could respond, a priority alert flashed. Colonel Hayes's team had captured Commander Vextel during their assault. Under interrogation, the Council officer revealed crucial intelligence. His father, High Commander Zextel, operated a secret facility on Proxima VII's ice moon. "That's where it started," Vextel's recorded confession played. "The original genetic research, the virus production, and the largest concentration of hybrid children." Sarah's claws clicked rapidly across her medical terminal. Kyle, these tests confirm it. The enhanced abilities we're seeing, they're not mutations. This is activated genetic potential present in both humans and UNAs. What are you saying? Our species share ancestral connections. The Council knew. They suppressed it to maintain their supremacy narrative. The ship's quantum comm crackled. Major Rodriguez reported success at Kira's Prime 37 hybrid children extracted from a Council black site. Similar reports streamed in from other facilities as veteran fathers led precision strikes against Council positions. Kyle studied the Proxima VII facility schematics. Heavy defenses, elite guard presence, and somewhere inside, Dr. Maxther continued his viral weapons research. The facility's location deep within Council space made it a challenging target. We'll need UNA's support for this one, Kyle noted. Lyra Vallen's voice joined the channel. My ships are ready. The UNA's military no longer recognizes Council authority in this matter. Bennett, status on Council communications. Broadcasting proof of their crimes now. Footage from New Genesis genetic research data, everything. The Kreeth Federation has already denounced Zextal's leadership. Kyle returned to the medical bay. Emily's color had improved, her scales regaining their iridescent sheen. How are you feeling? Better. She gripped his hand. Dad, I can sense the others, the ones still trapped. They're scared. Sarah's medical scanner beeped urgently. Kyle, the virus Maxther initiated a partial release in several facilities. We're detecting first-stage symptoms in rescued children. How long? Days, maybe less. Emily's regenerative capabilities might be key to synthesizing an antidote, but we need time. Kyle activated the tactical display, marking virus-affected facilities in red. They multiplied across the map like bleeding wounds, while his team plotted the assault course to Proxima VII. Somewhere in a hardened bunker on the Council capital world, High Commander Zextal waited, believing his position secure while the virus did its work. The ship's engines hummed as they adjusted course. Kyle watched Emily sleep, her enhanced healing already fighting off the effects of her captivity. They had 300 more children to save on Proxima VII alone, and a virus to stop before it claimed an entire generation. But first, they needed to deal with Maxther and his research labs. All teams, Kyle transmitted, prepare for assault deployment. We move on Proxima VII in 6 hours. Kyle monitored Emily's vitals as Sarah extracted another tissue sample. The converted asteroid laboratory hummed with activity as medical teams processed data from the rescued children. Her regenerative response is unprecedented, Sarah said, analyzing the sample. These markers, they're not random mutations. They're designed to interface with something. Emily winced as the extraction site sealed itself within seconds. The machines at the facility, she said, they felt familiar, like they were made for us. Admiral Morrison's hologram materialized above the command console. Kyle, the Kreeth Federation just made contact. They're offering full cooperation, including access to their archaeological database. Archaeological precursor sites. The Kreeth have been mapping them for centuries. Council's been restricting access to certain locations, especially Rigel IX. Sarah's instruments chimed. Kyle, look at this. The virus targets the exact genetic sequences that allow hybrid children to interface with precursor tech. This wasn't just about elimination, they were hiding something. Dr. Marcus Webb arrived from Earth within hours, his xenoarchaeological credentials granting him immediate clearance. His hands shook as he reviewed the data. My son. He could have accessed these systems. That's why they took him at New Genesis. The Rigel IX installation stretched deep beneath the planet's crust. Kyle's team breached the outer security measures using Commander Vextal's codes. Ancient machinery stirred to life around them, responding to the hybrid signatures in their group. It's a medical facility, Webb breathed, translating the holographic displays. They engineered both our species. made us compatible on purpose. The facility's central core revealed more detailed genetic maps, experimental protocols, and evidence of a vast precursor plan left unfinished. Before they could download everything, proximity alarms blared. Multiple council ships entering the system, Bennett transmitted. They're targeting refugee convoys. Zextal activated sleeper agents in the Kreeth defense grid. Captain Tor's voice cut through the chaos. Establishing defensive corridor with UNA's support. We'll hold them off. Get what you need and get out. Sarah's next transmission carried worse news. We lost 3 children in the past hour. The virus is accelerating, targeting the youngest first. Webb worked frantically at the precursor controls. There's more here, some kind of fail-safe system. The precursors built protection against weaponized viruses directly into their genetic modifications. Where's the activation protocol? Kyle asked. Not here. These are research files only. The implementation technology. Webb's voice trailed off as he decoded more data. It's in the Carina Nebula, in a facility that's not supposed to exist. The precursor installation shuddered. Ancient security systems initiated shutdown sequences. They grabbed the data cores seconds before emergency bulkheads sealed. Back aboard ship, Bennett confirmed what Webb had found. Traced Zextal's command signals. He's operating from the Carina facility, looks like the real council headquarters. Commander Vextal just transmitted authentication codes. Emily watched the tactical display as ships gathered at the nebula's edge, human, UNA's, and Kreeth vessels forming battle groups. Her scales shifted color with agitation. Dad, I can feel them. The other children, they're slipping away. Kyle studied the Carina facility schematics. Heavy defense platforms guarded every approach vector. Inside those walls waited both their salvation and their greatest enemy, Zextal himself, orchestrating this genocide from his hidden throne. Sarah appeared in the doorway, her tablet displaying genetic profiles. The virus is mutating. If we don't stop it soon, pure humans and UNAs could be next. But the precursor failsafe system. She zoomed in on Emily's latest scan. The technology in that facility might be our only chance. The combined fleet moved into attack formation. Kyle checked his weapons power cell one final time as Admiral Morrison transmitted the assault plan. Somewhere in the nebula's swirling gases, High Commander Zextal waited with the key to saving thousands of children or destroying everything their ancestors had built. The combined fleet materialized at the edge of the Carina Nebula, their engines casting ripples through the cosmic gases. Kyle watched the tactical display as Admiral Morrison's voice filled the command center. Authentication codes received from Commander Vextal. Boarding teams, prepare for deployment. Kyle checked his rifle's power cell one final time as Sarah prepped Emily for the mission ahead. The girl's scales flickered with nervous energy. The connection feels stronger here, Emily said, touching the bulkhead. Like it's pulling me. The assault ships pierced the nebula's radiation field, revealing their target, an artificial moonlet previously hidden from detection. Its surface bristled with defense platforms, now dormant thanks to Vextal's codes. All teams, synchronized breach in 30 seconds, Morrison commanded. Remember your objectives. Find that medical tech and shut down Zextal's operation. The boarding pods struck in perfect formation. Kyle led his team through the breach point, Sarah and Emily close behind. The facility's corridors stretched vast and ancient before them, precursor architecture blending seamlessly with council modifications. Bennett, what are you seeing? Kyle asked over comms. Massive data streams. Zextal's doing something with the mainframe. Wait. Bennett's voice tightened. He's uploading himself into the system, trying to merge with precursor tech. Sarah's medical scanner chirped an urgent alert. Kyle, 40 more children lost in the last 12 hours. The virus is accelerating. They encountered the first chamber of precursor artifacts, rows of preserved technology under crystal cases. Emily stopped at a series of medical pods similar to those on Rigel IX, her scales resonating with their quiet power. Colonel Hayes's voice crackled over comms. Viral storage located. Moving to secure it now. The central medical bay doors parted to reveal a nightmare of council experimentation. Failed attempts to replicate hybrid abilities littered the lab stations. Sarah accessed a terminal, her eyes widening at the data. They couldn't do it, she said. Only human UNA's hybrids can fully interface with these systems. That's why plasma fire erupted from a side corridor. Doctor. Maxthor emerged, weapon raised toward the medical database servers. Lyra Vallen's team dropped from the ventilation system, subduing him before he could fire. The core, Maxthor spat as Lyra's specialists secured him. Zextel's already initiated the overload sequence. You'll never. The facility shuddered. Admiral Morrison's voice cut through the chaos. All non-essential personnel, evacuate immediately. Engineering teams, prepare for emergency protocols. Kyle's team fought their way toward engineering, facing waves of elite guards wielding experimental weapons that crackled with precursor energy. 2 veteran fathers fell, creating a path through the onslaught. They reached the engineering level to find the power core pulsing with unstable energy. Emily stepped forward, her scales glowing as she approached the interface panel. I can feel him, she whispered. In the systems. Her consciousness merged with the facility's network. Through Bennett's guidance, they isolated critical systems from Zextel's control. But the High Commander's digitized presence struck back, invading Emily's neural connection. Emily screamed. Kyle moved to pull her away, but Sarah grabbed his arm. Breaking the connection could kill her, Sarah said, checking Emily's vital signs. And we'll lose control of the core. Through gritted teeth, Emily maintained the interface as Zextel's consciousness battered her mental defenses. The medical pods throughout the facility activated, their energy signatures shifting as the High Commander exercised his new control. The virus, Sarah reported, checking incoming data. He's accelerating the mutation. Every infected child in the evacuation fleet. Her voice trailed off as she studied Zextel's code structure. Wait, his merger with the precursor systems. It's incomplete. Kyle watched his daughter struggle against Zextel's digital assault, her scales fluctuating between brilliant colors as she fought to maintain control of the facility's systems. The next few moments would determine not only Emily's fate, but the survival of every hybrid child in council space. Sarah's fingers flew across her medical tablet, analyzing Zextel's vulnerability. We can stop him, but the risk to Emily. The power core's warning signals intensified as Emily pushed deeper into the precursor network, her consciousness now fully engaged in a battle against the High Commander's digital form. Kyle gripped his weapon, unable to fight this enemy with conventional weapons, forced to watch as his daughter faced humanity's greatest threat alone in the digital void. Emily's consciousness expanded through the precursor network, her neural pathways illuminating like stellar cartography as she grappled with Zextel's invasive presence. The High Commander's digitized form probed her defenses, flooding her awareness with corrupted data streams that blazed like solar flares. Vital signs critical, Sarah reported, adjusting her medical scanner. Brain activity off the charts. Kyle positioned himself at the doorway, plasma rifle raised as another wave of elite guards advanced through the corridor. He dropped 2 with precision shots, their experimental weapons clattering to the deck. Bennett, Kyle transmitted between bursts of fire, tell me you have something. Working on it. Bennett's voice carried the strain of rapid calculation. The precursor systems there rejecting him. Emily's hybrid physiology gives her priority access, if we can exploit that. A screen flashed red as Sarah's tablet registered another loss. Child 093 deceased, viral acceleration continuing. Dr. Maxthor spoke from where Lyra's team held him. The virus control protocols route through the medical subsystems. Zextel's using them to speed up the mutations, Sarah finished, her fingers dancing across her interface. Emily, can you isolate those protocols? Emily's response came through gritted teeth. Too many pathways. He's everywhere. Commander Vextel's voice cut through their comms. The medical control architecture uses Council security protocols. I can help bypass the authentication layers. Kyle eliminated another elite guard while Bennett coordinated with the Creeth specialists. Through his tactical display, he watched Captain Tor's ships engage the approaching Council loyalist fleet. Emily, Bennett transmitted, I'm sending you a system purge program. It should trigger the biological safeguards. Emily's scales shifted to deep purple as she accepted the code. The facility's lights flickered as she initiated the sequence. Zextel's presence recoiled, then struck back with devastating force. Warning klaxons blared as life support began failing in the lower levels. Haze here. Beginning emergency evacuation of subsection 12, atmosphere venting. Kyle watched Emily's face contort with effort. The medical pods throughout the facility hummed to life, their ancient machinery responding to her commands as she wrestled control from Zextel's grasp. The genes, Sarah exclaimed, studying the incoming data. The virus targets their interface capabilities specifically. If we can use the precursor medical systems to, the deck plates shuddered. Emily's eyes snapped open, glowing with the same energy that pulsed through the facility's core. The children, she gasped. We were meant for this. The precursors designed us to inherit their healing technology. Zextel's digitized scream echoed through the facility's speakers. Power surged through the systems as he diverted everything to maintain his failing grip on the network. Bennett Vextel, Kyle ordered, begin data transfer to the secure network. Sarah synthesized that cure. Emily, I know what to do. Emily's consciousness expanded fully into the system. The purge program activated, its code spreading through the network like antibodies attacking an infection. Zextel's presence fragmented, scattering into packets of corrupted data. Cure synthesis at 60%, Sarah reported. But the reactor, a new alarm sounded. The facility's core began an emergency shutdown sequence, its countdown displaying on every active screen. Warning: core destabilization in 60 minutes. Evacuation protocols initiated. Kyle maintained his position at the door as Sarah prepared the first batch of the cure for transport. Through the facility's windows, he watched the combined fleet holding position against the Council loyalists. Time ticked away as they worked to salvage what they could of humanity's medical future. Bennett's voice crackled through the comms. Primary data transfer complete, but we're detecting residual traces in the backup systems, if any part of Zextel survives. Emily interfaced with another medical console, her scales now pulsing with the same rhythm as the facility's failing reactor. The purge isn't finished. There's more we need to secure before. An explosion rocked the lower decks. Elite guards had breached the engineering section, making a final push toward the medical bay. Kyle checked his rifle's charge as emergency bulkheads began to seal throughout the facility. Kyle fired another burst at the advancing elite guards while Admiral Morrison's voice echoed through the facility's comm system. All ships, commence emergency docking procedures. Medical transports, priority access to bays 1 through 4. Sarah, status, Kyle called over his shoulder. First batch of cure synthesis complete. She secured the vials in her medical kit, but we need those pods operational for critical cases during transport. Emily's fingers danced across the interface. Uncle Derek, I found something. The fabrication systems, there's a template for portable healing units. Downloading now, Bennett confirmed. These devices. They're designed specifically for hybrid operation. The facility shuddered as the first transport ships locked into position. Hayes's voice cut through the chaos. Medical bay to docking corridor secured. Rodriguez, Tors hold those choke points. Kyle watched the tactical display as multiple red dots converged on Rodriguez's position. Plasma fire echoed through the corridors, followed by the distinctive crack of Rodriguez's marksman rifle. Multiple critically ill children incoming, Sarah reported, prepping the remaining functional pods. Starting emergency stabilization procedures. Emily's scales shifted to a deep blue as she initiated the fabrication sequence. Raw materials flowed through the facility's production systems, assembling into compact medical devices that pulsed with the same energy as the precursor technology. A massive explosion rocked the lower decks. Commander Vextel's transmission came through filled with static. Reactor failsafes compromised. I can override manually, but Commander, wait, Kyle started. No time. Get those children out. Vextel's voice softened. Tell Emily, my family's debt is paid. The facility's countdown paused, then reset to 4 to 5 minutes. Sarah's medical scanner beeped rapidly as the first treated child's vital signs stabilized. It's working, she announced, immediately preparing the next dose. Their natural regenerative abilities are amplifying the cure's effects. Bennett's voice crackled over comms, primary systems purged, accessing Vextel's personal logs documenting everything. He paused. Kyle, Hayes found something in subsection 7. You need to see this. Kyle fought his way through the corridors with his remaining team members. They reached a sealed chamber where Hayes stood before a row of active stasis pods, his hand pressed against one of the transparent surfaces. New Genesis survivors, Hayes whispered. My brother's girls. The static-filled voice of Admiral Morrison cut through. 25 minutes remaining. All non-essential personnel must evacuate immediately. Sarah coordinated the evacuation from the command ship. Medical Transport 3 ready for stasis pod transfer. Lyra's squadron providing cover fire. Emily's consciousness remained linked to the facility's systems, maintaining crucial stability as the reactor core deteriorated. Dad, I can hold it together, but not for long. Kyle checked his tactical display. One transport remaining, 5 minutes until detonation. A structural beam crashed down behind them as they sprinted for the extraction point. Emily ran beside him, her scales pulsing in rhythm with the failing facility. The corridor ahead collapsed. Kyle blasted through the debris with his rifle's remaining charge. They emerged into the docking bay as their ship's engines powered up. Now, Emily. Kyle pulled her aboard as she severed her connection to the facility's systems. Their ship launched clear as the first explosions began. Through the viewport, Kyle watched the facility break apart, its destruction briefly rivaling the nebula's luminosity. Sarah's voice filled the cabin. Final casualty report, 103 lost. All surviving children successfully treated. She paused, checking her data. Admiral Morrison is requesting our presence on Terra Nova. They're establishing a permanent colony for hybrid families. Emily touched the viewport as the nebula receded behind them, her scales now glowing with a steady, healthy light. The quantum drives containing the precursor medical data hummed softly in their storage cases, while the newly fabricated healing units waited to serve their intended purpose. Kyle secured his weapon as their ship joined the fleet's formation. The first transmissions from the treated children filled the communications channel's voices, growing stronger by the moment as the cure took full effect.